over and everyone survived. Yay. Welcome to my 6th chase race review. This week I am talking about Talladega, the wild card of the 2013 and 2012 and the wild card of every single chase that's ever happened. Well, today I'm going to be talking about some pretty interesting things, a lot of new developments. It shook up the standings a little bit, not nearly as much as I think a lot of us were speculating, but definitely a little bit. If you look behind me, I have my cars in a different order, a little bit of a different order at least, than I did last week. And if you watched my last video, I'm using these as kind of like my representation of the point standings. So that's why you see Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth and Kyle Busch there in the front, and poor old Casey Kane in the back. Anyway, so big storylines. Jamie McMurray takes the win at Talladega. It's his 7th career win. 4 of them now have been at restrictor plate tracks, so he definitely knows how to get around there. And it's the 2nd week in a row that a non-chaser has won the race. Keselowski won last week at Charlotte, and now McMurray here. So that's a little interesting, because the chasers had won all the other races, chase races before that. So it's definitely interesting. Other big developments is now we have a new points leader. Well, a new old points leader. It's Jimmie Johnson is back up front. Whoop-de-freaking-do. He and Matt Kenseth flip-flopped. Kenseth came in with a 4-point lead, and then they left with Johnson had a 4-point lead. So they basically flip-flopped. Johnson finished 13th, which was okay, I guess, and Kenseth finished 20th. Both of them, though, ran up front and actually led the 2 most amount of laps. Jimmy had the most. I think Kenseth had the 2nd most amount of laps led. So both of them ran very well. It just kind of got shuffled back at the end there. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to go and start off talking about that, because that's the points lead. It's probably the biggest, most important stuff to talk about. Talladega, the race was a good race. I thought the overall racing action was great. 2 and 3 wide action most of the afternoon. And the negative was, it depends on it. How you look at it. If you're the guy that's always there for the action, yeah, there was only 2 cautions, at least until the very end. And it was kind of, and neither of the cautions were that super exciting. You had the 2-car crash involving Ambrose and Montoya, but then the other guy just blew an engine there early in the race. So nothing too exciting in that respect until the very last lap. But the general racing was great. There's 2 and 3 wide, almost. There's 3 wide somewhere on the track almost the entire race. So that was fun to watch. There's different lanes moving. By the end of the race, it was clear the outside lane was probably one of the better ones, but it would change periodically. You'd never know which one was the best at which given time. It would kind of come and go as the race went on. But going back to the final about 10 laps or so, you went from having Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth, the 2 points leaders coming in, right there in the top 5, battling, top 3 even. They're out there battling for it. It looked like one of them might be able to break free, clear of the field, and possibly would be the guy to beat there at the end, like McMurray ended up being. But Matt Kenseth was the first one to fall back. He found himself suddenly at one point. He was on the inside of a 3-wide battle, and the far inside lane, especially when you were 3 wide, was definitely the worst of the 3 lanes. So he slipped back along with a few others, fell back to almost 20th. Jimmie Johnson hung in there a little longer, but he eventually also got shuffled out of line, and eventually the entire field pretty much just got single file. Top 25 or so were all single file for the final 6 or 7 laps, and it kind of. This was when I started to think. Up until this point, I was like, "Oh, this has been a great race. This is just awesome, fun to watch." I was on the edge of my seat. I had to pee from about lap 30, and I didn't go the rest of the race. I couldn't get off my couch. I was like, "No, I want to keep watching this. This is pretty good." So that happened. Jimmy and Matt Kenseth both fell back to about between 15th and 20th somewhere, and everyone fell in line, single file, just rim riding it along the top of the racetrack. And both drivers kind of made attempts to try and get that bottom lane to work. I know Matt Kenseth had I was listening to his radio. He was trying to get guys like Edwards and Biffle and other people that were around him to form an inside lane to try and get to the front with about 3 or 4 laps to go. And that nobody really went with him. Nobody committed to it except Kenseth, and that ended up costing him. He fell back a few more spots. So that's why he ended up finishing 20th. Jimmy, on the other hand, just decided to stick it out on the outside lane, and he ended up gaining a couple more spots. He finished 13th. That was why they flip-flopped in points, 13th and 20th. That was it. So that's why Jimmy now has the points lead. But to put it in words, the last 7 laps or so were very boring. I'll be honest. I loved the race until that, and then I was just like, all right, 7 to go. They're all single file. Are they going to make a move? No? Okay, they're waiting, I get it. Alright, 6 to go. Okay, they're gonna make a move? No, still waiting. Alright, I can understand that. 5 to go. Okay, someone's gonna probably make a move now, right? No, okay, they're still waiting. I'll give them that, they're waiting. 4 to go. Okay, somebody's gotta be thinking about it now. At least in the back, someone's gotta be trying to make a move. No. 3 to go. It's like, okay, now they gotta start making moves. Now, there's only 3 to go. No, still no moves. 2 to go. It's like, okay, you got less than 5 miles to go. You gotta go now, right? No, nobody still goes. Still single file. White freaking flag. Nobody is still making a move. It's still single file. The whole 25 cars back. Then we get to half a lap to go. They're still single file. And then Casey Mears and Austin Dillon flip over each other and wreck. And the race is over. Simple as that. The positions didn't change like at all for the last like 7 or 8 laps. There have been 50 plus lead changes in the race, and then the final 8 or 9 laps there, they just following the leader, and this is Matt Kenseth summed it up perfectly after the race. He summed it up perfectly when he said that everyone was just too scared to race, and that's basically what it was. Nobody wanted to risk being the first guy to jump out of line. Paul Menard, I read, mentioned he was just like, this is the way all the drivers were thinking. None of them wanted to be the first guy to dive to that inside lane, because if nobody came with them, you were screwed, and that's what happened to Jimmy and Matt. But if you went to the inside lane and people came with you, which is kind of that chance you're willing to take, you had a chance of possibly going to the front, maybe competing for the win. But for these guys that are sitting there in the top 5, top 10, especially when you're looking at points and everything, a lot of those guys were just like, all right, if we just stay single file here, we're not going to wreck, we're just going to be fine. Of course, that didn't end up happening. Austin Dillon ended up wrecking anyways. He and Stenhouse got together. But generally, it was an anticlimactic finish. The wreck, I'm glad that Austin Dillon and Casey Mears, everyone was all right, but at least that was kind of something to see. That was pretty, whoa. I mean, this guy went flipping straight up into the air. That was an intense wreck, I'll be honest. But, other than that, the finish was crap. Very lousy. Very terrible finish. But I was glad Jamie McMurray won. I was glad to see Jamie win. Dale Jr. finishes a close second again. I'm feeling really bad for Dale Jr. fans right now. It's like he's got a dark cloud of just no luck. Because I think coming around turn 4, he was going to make a move, and I think he was going to be able to beat McMurray, assuming that at least one of the guys, Stenhouse or it would have been Austin Dillon actually, had decided to go with him. That would have been Junior would have won the race. So that's just a tough break for Junior and Junior fans there. But on the plus side, I'm going to talk about the point standings. That's really the only other thing to take away from this race is some of the major shifts. Just going to point it out here. Like I said, Jimmy Johnson is now atop the points. He has a 4-point lead over Matt Kenseth. But it's still 2-car breakaway because it's another. Kyle Busch now moved back up to the 3rd spot. He's just still 26 points back, but he was able to eat in a pretty considerable margin on the lead. He finished 5th. Like I said, Johnson and Kenseth finished outside the top 10, so he was able to make up some points. Harvick and Gordon didn't have the best of races. Yeah, they're 4th and 5th. You got Junior, who gained a couple spots with the 2nd place finish, so I'd say he still has a chance at the championship. Probably not going to get it. He'd have to win probably at least 2 of the next races, and he's going to have some help. Greg Biffle ran an okay race, kept it clean, Clint Bowyer, I don't actually remember what happened to Clint Bowyer. Do I have it written down anymore? Oh, crap. Clint Bowyer just ran a race. He did okay. Kurt Busch in that Wonder Bread car did an all-right job. Carl Edwards, he ran around the back most race. He was part of that group I mentioned that was trying to get a lane going with Kenseth and Bowyer. That's where Bowyer came in. They were trying to make him something on the inside. Didn't really work. Newman, Logano, Kane. To be honest, I don't know where they finished. I wasn't paying attention to them that whole race. I'm just going to be honest. They're the back of the pack. I'm not really paying too much attention to them. I know Kane had a couple. Kane was pretty good at one point. But, yeah, that was about it. So let me just check my notes here, make sure I got everything written down, or talked about that I wanted to mention. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, other notes is Ricky Stenhouse did earn his first career top 5 finish in the Sprint Cup Series. So good for him. I mentioned McMurray getting his 7th career win. That was good for him. And now we move on to, I'm just going to spend the last minute moving on to the short track of Martinsville. I'm looking forward to this race. I'm just glad they're back to an oval, they can breathe now after Talladega. And unfortunately, though, being a Matt Kenseth fan, I know things don't look good because Jimmy's probably going to go out there and kick major butt at Martinsville and win by 5 seconds or something and run away with this whole thing. But I'm trying to stay positive. So I'm going to look at it. looking ahead to next week, guys that are going to be good. Jimmy Johnson, of course, is going to be probably the best guy to beat, as he normally is at that racetrack. He's got, what, like 8 wins? Oh, my God. That's not fair. Jeff Gordon, he's usually a guy that's good there. I think he'll be all right. He'll have a top 5 car, but he's probably going to do something to screw it up. Other guys that'll be notables, I think Kevin Harvick will have a decent run. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. can have a good run. Ryan Newman's very good at this racetrack. I think he could have a good run at this one. That's really about it. Some of the others got Boyer. I know Clint Boyer's not too bad at this racetrack, but it's a lot of guys. I think a Chaser will win this week, and actually the next 4 races, I think a Chaser will win all 4 of them. Not the same Chaser, but like different Chaser drivers will win those races. But that's my prediction. Who do I think is going to win next week in Martinsville? I'm going to go with. It's a tough call, really. I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson. It's the safest pick. Thanks for pointing that out. If I'm right, I'm right. I hope I'm wrong. I really freaking hope I'm wrong. But wait, come on, you're going to Martinsville. This guy's won 8 freaking races at Martinsville. Can you imagine that? This guy winning 8 races at one track. He's got so many grandfather clocks, I could probably build my house with them. I mean, probably, I don't know. But that's my show. I will see you guys this week. I am doing a midweek video on Thursday, so you can look forward to that. I skipped it last week because I had my Mario Kart stop motion up, which if you haven't seen it already, is pretty awesome. You should check that out, please. And I'll see you guys again, I guess, on Thursday. So, goodbye.